Hey there. I know we started out the last couple of videos with the same warning video from me. I'll spare you that this time. I won't make you listen to the video saying, don't be like me, I don't know what I'm doing. You might get hurt if you do what I say, that I'm not a trained professional, and, you know, I may not be doing it by the book, but this works for me, so I won't make you go through that this video. Let's talk about deck cable adjustments, shall we? Now, if you want to know if you're close on your deck cable adjustment, look at these Geneva rollers right here. Here's your Geneva plate for the deck shifting. You want to make sure you're almost in a straight line right here. I was up at Hamilton Bowl with Anthony working on lane 2. We're doing some work on it, and I looked over lane 3. This guy was way off, and it just, like, I cringed when I saw it. So next thing we did is we got over in lane 3, took the deck cable off, adjusted it to where we got, a good starting point is making this thing level. That's your starting point. You're going to tweak it after that. But we got that set, and then I got lane 3 setting pin so beautifully. I'll put a video of that on here. When you see it come down to set pins, all 10 of them are straight up and down in the buckets, and it sets right on the spot. The deck shifts back, goes up, and those pins don't even move, and you're right on spot. So we're going to adjust the deck cable now to where you get that. As I say, get your starting point where your Geneva rollers are pretty much level, then run it through a cycle and see how your pins look when they're going down. If they all stand straight up and down, once you also make sure both your spotting fingers are good, we talked about that earlier too. You want to make sure both spotting fingers, you don't have a bent one and a straight one, because then your pin may not sit right. You need to have 2 equal spotting fingers. So make sure they match. Even if they're both bent, that's fine, as long as they're both bent about the same amount. What I made is a thing on a 2x4. Let me show you that real quick. Just a 2x4, 2 pieces of wood, 2 1/4-inch bolts sticking up from the bottom here. But you got a left and a right. Here's my right spotting finger. It's labeled right hand. There's the part number for it. But anyways, what I do, just to see if they're bent, put it on there like that, and you got no gap up on the top. That is a good spotting finger. That's why it's marked good too. But if it's bent, you're going to put it on there and you're going to see this big gap in there, and that spotting finger can go in the trash or the recycle bin, whichever one you like. All right, now watch the pin set here. This is pretty much set just how it should be. See how nice and straight they are? Center now's nice and sweet like that. But if you got 2 good spotting fingers, good deck roller, the pin should be straight up and down when it goes down to set. And if you adjust, this outer cable is your deck cable. All it is a turnbuckle in there, top and bottom. Just loosen the jam nuts. You might put a pair of vice grips or pliers on the middle, break your jam nuts, take your deck cable off. You want to do it down at 270, and then you could pull this carefully, get it off the top roller. Don't drag your hand on this cable, because if there's any frays in there and you grab this cable and pull on it, that's a hurt you're never going to forget. So I always grab mine by the turnbuckle, lift it to get the slack off the top, pull it off the top, and then you can adjust the cable to make it a little shorter or a little longer. Just play with it. If you have them sitting a little bit crooked as they're going down, tighten it up a little bit. Run it again. Does it get better or worse? If it gets worse, go back the other way. Loosen a little bit. Just, maybe about a 1 turn at a time at the turnbuckle, at 270. It may take a little while to get it just right, but once you get it right with your height set right, and once you get this cable set at the right length, all your pins should be standing straight up and down when it goes down. Okay, if you haven't done it before, get your machine down at 270. Make sure your breaker's off. If you have the spring on here, undo the spring on the bottom and kind of lift it up, get it out of the way here. But grab the turnbuckle, don't grab the cable. You can pull in this and watch the deck has room to move forward. Lift up, take the cable off the top, and relax. Then you can adjust the turnbuckle, break the jam nuts loose on here, shorten or lengthen the cable as needed. Now when you do take the cable off like this and let the slack off, you got to make sure you keep it on the pulley back here, and also it's going to relax this one right here because they're connected. There's a shaft in between the two. connecting that pulley and that pulley. So this one here can jump off, so just be careful before you put it back on to make sure these are both on. Also, it's a good time to check these cables and make sure they're not frayed. Right here, my bearing's a little bit loose in this, in my pulley right here. But make sure this cable here is good. These control cables get frayed up and can jump off from time to time. So it's a good time while you got this off now. If you can, put a new cable on here if you got one. Okay, putting the cable back on. Make sure you got your cable over here on the pulleys. Make sure everything's on back here too. Grab the turnbuckle right here and pull. When you pull, the whole deck's going to shift forward. Pull up on it. Go ahead and set the cable on top there. Slowly relax it. You're back on. Don't worry about your spring for right now. You can just kind of let that out of the way. A lot of y'all may not even have the spring on there. It's just kind of there to kind of help keep tension if the cable ever got slack for any reason. Keeps the cable from popping off. But we're going to go run it through a cycle and see what we get. Okay, here's an example with the cable set too long. If you notice when it goes down to 270, the front of the deck bumps the front of the pins as it shifts back. Watch it right here. They bump them, wobble a little bit. That's not good. So you want to shorten that cable up. Let's watch this one more time. It's going to set too long and the deck is going to bump the pins right there. It wasn't very smooth, so we need to make some adjustments. All right, now I have the cable too short. We're going to run it through a cycle. You'll notice when it goes down to set the pins that they're not standing straight up and down. They're a little bit crooked, and it doesn't set it down as smooth as it should either. Watch this as it goes down. They're not very straight, sets them down, kind of wobbly, so our cable's too short. Need to find a better placement. All right, I'm going to run it through another cycle. Watch the 2, 3, and 9 are pretty much not straight either. Plus, there's kind of a double thud when it sets them down because the pins are not all the way down contacting the lane when the machine shifts backward. Okay, I'm going to turn it off here so we can look at it here. I can tell right now the 2 is not setting straight, the 9's not setting straight. If you look at the 4, 5, 6, it's kind of hard to tell, but the 5 is leaning back. The 4 is pretty straight, but you can just tell by looking at them, they're not uniform, especially like the 2. It's not in the bucket straight, so our cable's too short. Need to lengthen it up until you see those pins all coming down at a perfect straight angle. A lot of times you'll see them leaning like this, you know, like leaning to the side one way or the other. You definitely know you're too short then, but it should be straight up and down like that. But if you notice, the pin was leaning when it's going down, so it's too short. It needs to hang down a little bit further. Lengthen your cable. Try to lengthen the cable a little bit more. We'll stop it here and see how we're looking. Next shift. Pretty straight right there. That could be just a hair bit off. The 5's leaning forward a little bit. Everything's looking pretty close there, but I think we might need to tweak it just a little bit more because I'm still not 100% happy with the way they're standing. Actually, I've been playing with it thinking I need to go longer. I've actually gone too long, so I'm going to go shorten it back up again because I think I've gone past the point that I needed to be at. See, it's all trial and error. You never know till you just run it through a few cycles and see where you're at. All right, let's see how this is. I've shortened it up quite a bit. Looking pretty good. I would say every pin is standing straight up and down. This 2 pin is still a little bit off. I'm going to check the deck roller on there, make sure there's not a funny spot on that, but pretty much I'm happy with that. I'm going to run it through another cycle so you can watch it set then, and I think I may lock it in and leave it right where I'm at. Just watch how it sets. Nice and straight. Gently put it down. And notice my Geneva roller on the back. Bearings are straight across, which is right where you want them at 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock. You know, there's never going to be an exact setting that they're all going to be perfect straight up and down every time, but you're just going to keep playing with the cables one way or the other till you find that spot where they're as good as they're going to be. You know, occasionally one might lean a little bit one way or the other, but just play with it until you get what your best result is. Lock it in. And let's move on to the detector rod adjustment, which is in our next video. Stay tuned.